All right, we're on part 2 of creating histograms. So, Miss Madera has this, this data, the number of minutes spent on homework daily. So she's going to help set up these problems for you. So I am going to tell you right now that your intervals are going to be the number of minutes. That's the category. And then you're going to tell me the frequency. Frequency, I can spell, there we go. Looking at my data, I'm more comfortable telling you that your category should be 0 through 9 minutes, 10 through 19 minutes, I'm going to run out of room, 20 through 29 minutes, and lastly 30 through 39 minutes. Sorry. Kind of squeeze that in there. My apologies. Here, I'll drag this down so we have enough room. So that means you have 1, 2, 3, 4 intervals. So you should break this up into, break it in half. There, I have 4 intervals. So I have 0 through 9, 10 through 19, 20 through 29, and 30 through 39. Those are my intervals. And I'm not going to draw lines all the way up because I don't know what their frequency is. So this first line, what I unfortunately should not have drawn right there, I'm going to put an arrow. We're going to say this is 2, this value is 4, this value is 6, this value is 8, this value is 10, and the last value is 12. So this is the frequency. This is your intervals, this is your frequency. So let's go down my data and see where do these numbers fall into which categories? So I have 10. I'm going to use a different color. There we go. 10's going to belong in this frequency. 30 is going to belong in this last one. 20 belongs here. 30 belongs here. 32 goes here. 23 goes here. 24. 27. 31, 12, 13, 22, 13, 22 again, 23, 25, 37, 32, 23, 28, 5, 11, 10, and 18. All right, so your frequencies, I'm going to count them. This one only had 1. This one had 7. This one had 10. And this one had 6. So now that I've sorted my data, if you will find quickly after doing a little bit more practice with histograms, this right here is what takes the most time. Now, the fun part is I move it onto my actual histogram and make the columns or the bars that touch each other. So I'm going to start with my first frequency. It only happened once where I found a number that fell between the numbers 0 and 9. So I'm actually not going to make it all the way up to the 2. I'm only going to go about halfway, representing 1. There we go, right about there. All right, on to my next frequency. It was at 7, but because I counted by evens, I'm going to have to go halfway between 6 and 8, so right about here. There we go. Thankfully, I'll color that in. About halfway. All right. Going on to the next one, this is my biggest one. This one is 10, so I thankfully get to go all the way up to the 10 line. Remember, make sure these things touch. No spaces, no gaps in between them, because the data is continuous. Because look at this category, your intervals, they're going from numbers 10 through 19. And then it starts from 19 right to 20, the next number on the number line. That's why there are no gaps. The number line is continuous. And then the very last one, 30 through 39, that was a frequency of 6, and I get to go all the way up to the 6th line, which I like. It makes it nice and organized for me. And I'm going to color that in as well. All right. There's my histogram. Now I'm going to jump down, and this is the opposite. See, they gave me a histogram with all the components touching, and now I need to draw information or answer the following questions based on my histogram below. So this Miss Madera is also going to do with you guys, so our notes are neat, complete, and match together wholeheartedly. So I'm going to look at question A. How many students have 0 to 1 siblings? So it's asking the frequency, so I'm going to go to 0 to 1 siblings, and it looks like it's about halfway between 40 and 50. Well, halfway between 40 and 50 is 45, so that means the answer to this question would be 45 students. How many students have more than 3 siblings? So number of siblings. We need more than 3. Not equal to, just more than. So that means I actually need to look at these 2 categories, 4 or 5 siblings or 6 or 7 siblings. So let's see. This one all the way up had a frequency of 10, and this one had about halfway, so that's a frequency of 5. Well, what is 10 plus 5? It had a frequency of 15 students. And that's also a good tip too, is when you have a histogram and they don't actually tell you, like the bar, that's what it's designed to do, is to actually tell you the frequency, but I also like it closer nearby, especially with numbers like this that are halfway between. I can just label their frequencies underneath or nearby, like on your chart when you sorted your data. And then go ahead, and this one, 2 to 3, looks like it was right at 30, so that's nice. Plus it'll help me when I answer these questions and if I'm going to need to add or subtract or anything like that. Let's go on. How many students have between 0 and 3 siblings? So that means it's including these 2, because it's talking about 0 to 3. That means these 2 columns in my frequency. So that means 45 plus 30, which gives me a total of 75 students. And lastly, using the histogram, can you tell exactly how many people have 5 siblings? Explain. Well, because we're looking at a histogram, you cannot tell. You're copying this down word for word. You actually can't tell, because with a histogram, you cannot tell the exact number of each data item, just the frequency, I think I spelled that wrong, in the intervals. And we talked about intervals meaning groups. So even though I have an idea that this category, 4 to 5 siblings, that happened 10 times where someone was in this single category. But I don't know how many of them were the 4s or how many of them were the 5s. I can't really tell, and that's because that's the way the histogram is displaying the data. If I made a line plot or stem and leaf plot, I can probably see more specifically, but given this type of display, I actually cannot tell. All right, make sure you have all of these components on your notes, and then you are ready to move on.